Hey guys, John here with another Terrainify video, and today I'm going to show you how to make this ruined statue. Okay, so I finished doing the prep work for this model. I've cleaned the print, added sand for a little texture, and glued the miniature in place. Side note about this miniature, it arrived slightly damaged, so I contacted Reaper, and they were really cool. They sent me a replacement mini. What I did was, rather than letting a broken mini go to waste, I figured it'd be perfect for this project. That's where this guy came from. That's his backstory, and that's why he's missing a hand. Alright, so the next step is to prime this piece. But something else I wanted to mention before I get to that, with this model, it's designed so that it can be printed without the integrated base, as you can see in this version. One advantage of the base is that it adds a little bit more stability. Now, if I'd been using a plastic miniature, it wouldn't be as much of an issue, but this is a metal mini. The additional larger base at the bottom does help a lot for giving it more stability. Alright, next step, priming. Okay, priming's finished, and I went with a simple solid black because that's going to provide a good contrast for the next layers of colors that are coming. So first I'm going to dry brush this dark brown to the base. It's going to provide a good soil color for the grass and the foliage that'll go on top. And I'm trying to just keep this on the base, but it's probably, I mean, when you're dry brushing, it's inevitably going to get onto other areas where you don't want it. So that's why I'm starting with the brown, because when I do the gray, I can go back and retouch the areas where I didn't want to get the brown. Now that I'm finished with the brown, I'm going to continue with the dark gray. And this is going to provide the main color for the stones. So I'm just going to apply this fairly heavily over the entire model, except for the base. And some of the gray is going to get onto the base, like the soil layer, but that's okay because most of that's going to be covered with flock later on. And now that the first layer of gray has been applied, I'm going to continue with a lighter shade of gray. And I'm not going to put this on as heavily. It's just more of a highlight color, trying to get more of the edges and the really sharp details. And you can always add more as far as highlighting goes. I'm going to call this good here though. And now the next thing to do is add flock. Alright, this next step is pretty easy and straightforward. In addition to flock, you also need a little water and white glue. And all you have to do is apply the glue directly to the base. So this is going to be like the grass layer on the base. So just spread around a good amount. And then, using an old brush, add a little water to spread it around, and go right up to the edges. Go up to the edges of the block, of the blocks also, of the ruin. And this piece is small enough that I'm just going to do the entire thing in one shot. And in my mind, this ruin has been here for a while, so I'm gonna put some over here, kind of climbing up the base, or growing on the base. A little bit up here too. I mean, grass and weeds and everything else will start growing pretty much anywhere if you leave it long enough. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you have a big enough tub, you can just kind of dunk the model right into it. Maybe I'll try that. Otherwise, you can just shake it directly from your canister over a container, which this is a little small. Like if I was going to shake it that way, I'd want a bigger container just to really contain the mess. The other thing you can do obviously is just pick it up with your hands and sprinkle it, but like I said, this is big enough, so I can just kind of do one of these. And then once it's covered, turn it over, get the excess off. And since this is a ruin, I'm going to add a little more foliage, kind of climbing up the side of the column and onto the statue, just to show that it's really been here for a long time. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to just apply the glue directly using the brush. And there are a few different, you have a few options. I mean, there's lots of different materials you can use. For this one, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to use more of the same flock that I've been using for the grass. I mean, if you want to make it look like it's a really different type of plant, like ivy or something like that, there's different materials available that you can use. But this will look good too. There's lots of options. And we're just trying to apply it randomly here and there. Let's see what it looks like once I have the flock. And in this case, I am going to use my fingers to sprinkle it on. And I got it a little bit heavier than I want in some areas, so I'm just going to take the brush and clean it up a little bit. Real simple. Alright, that part's done. I'm going to go seal it with a watered down white glue. And as you can see, doing flock is just really messy. I mean, you can't really help it. I guess obviously if you use a bigger container, that'll make it a lot easier, like I said before, to contain the mess. But it's just part of the process. Alright, I'm going to go let this dry, and I'll be back. Alright guys, now that the flock is dry, we have a good looking, perfectly serviceable piece of terrain. But I'm going to go a couple of steps further, kick things up a notch by adding just some more basing elements, just for a little bit more variety. The first one of these is Super Turf, and the way this works, just apply the glue directly from the bottle, put it in various spots on the base, try to make it random, try to focus on areas where this kind of foliage, shrubs and weeds and stuff, would naturally tend to cluster and grow. And the other thing you can do, if you have any kind of ugly spots, like or something that just doesn't look quite right, then now's a good time. You can cover it up. If you're not hiding your mistakes, you're not doing this right. Maybe just a little bit up here. Plants will grow anywhere. A little bit right there. See how that looks. Alright, and once again, this piece is small enough that I just put the glue over the entire thing in one shot. If you're doing like a really big piece of terrain, then you might have to break it up into phases. And then once the glue is down, just apply it like this. Push it on and gently push it down to get it to stick to the glue. And again, you have a couple of options here. I'm doing this all by hand, but if this were a big piece, I'd probably shake it out from the canister and we'll work over a big container. But this works just fine. So now I'm going to apply another layer of watered down glue to seal it Be back once this is dry. Alright guys, just one last step to complete this model. Now I'm going to add the grass tufts. You have a few different options here, actually a lot of options for color and variety. I'm going to go with these purple and white flowering grass tufts because I like the additional colors that they provide and the contrast that they have with the grain. This is, again, real simple. Use your tweezers, pull a tuft off, apply white glue directly, find a spot, and tamp it down. I find that it's easiest to work with the tweezers, but if you get something like this, like if you pull off a clump of tufts that's just too big, then you can break it apart with your fingers and just do that. Make it a more manageable size. And there we go, the finished model. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and check out our other videos. And if you're interested in getting this or any of our other terrain pieces for yourself, check out Terrainify.com. Till next time, thanks and happy gaming.